Thank you, everybody, for sharing with us this webinar. I want to give the opportunity to our president of ACT to introduce this webinar for all of you. Mike, please.
Thank you, Hernan. And I just want to welcome everybody to this webinar and to talk a little bit about the relationship here where HCT has developed and patented encapsulator technology, which we brand as several brands. One brand for fire is F500 encapsulator agent. So this is a new type of agent. It falls under NFPA 18A, which is water additives for fire suppression and vapor mitigation. I actually sit on that technical committee, and we're developing a whole bunch of new standards within that standard. So with that in mind, I would like to talk about that we have on here Hazard Control Technologies has partnered up with Fire Rover to bring our technology and their state-of-the-art technology together. So you don't just get 2 times the fire protection, you actually get fire protection squared. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ron Lowry, who is HCT Eastern Area Manager, to give a brief overview of the F500 encapsulator agent, and then we will then turn it over to Ryan Fogelman, who is Fire Rover National Sales Manager, to talk about the equipment and services and tie everything together. So Ron, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. So everybody's seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as Mike said, we're going to talk about encapsulator technology, excuse me, and in specific, F500 encapsulator agent. So first, let's go back here. Sorry about that.
Technology.
The first thing is this, the encapsulator agent, and what is it?
He wants to start. The video wants to start.
Yeah. There we go. So why is it doing that to me? So what is an encapsulating agent?
Encapsulator.
May have to show it this way.
Encapsulator technology.
Ron, my guess is there's an automatic timer set to advance the slide, and
Yeah.
we can look at it like this, and then you can move on to the video.
Yep. Okay. So again, the basic definition of an encapsulator agent, as Mike was saying in the beginning, it's a water additive whose basic building block is that spherical micelle. Those micelles are capable of encapsulating both carbon and hydrocarbon molecules in both the liquid and the vapor state. In doing that, they encapsulate them, separating the fuel from the oxygen on a chemical molecular level, as opposed to a mechanical level like a foam may have. So now we can get into that video that's been wanting to play that actually explains what the encapsulator agent is and how it interacts with water to form that spherical micelle.
Encapsulator technology. The next generation of fire and hazard mitigation. First, we start with a simplified version of a single encapsulator agent molecule consisting of a hydrophilic polar head, which loves water, dissolves in water, and a hydrophobic nonpolar tail, which fears water and will do anything to get away from water. Once the EA molecules enter the water, they instantaneously and automatically orient the nonpolar tails inward and the polar heads outward, forming millions of spherical micelles. Micelles travel towards and exit the nozzles, forming EA droplets. Micelles nearest to the surface of each droplet automatically break apart. The nonpolar tails orient outside the droplet, with polar heads on the surface, forming an EA skin on the surface of every droplet. In addition to the EA skin, there are millions of molecular spherical micelles within each droplet.
So once that solution mixes with water, once the EA molecules mix with water, as it was saying in the presentation, those spherical micelles are instantaneously formed within the water. But once a droplet is formed, those micelles closest to the surface break apart. Those non-polar tails orient outward. So you get a skin of F500 on the outside of every droplet and millions of the micelles within the water droplet. Does a couple different things for you when that happens. The first is encapsulation. So those F500 spherical micelles surround and encapsulate both vapors or hydrocarbon molecules, sealing them off from the oxygen on a chemical molecular level, taking the fuel away. That F500 molecules on the skin create a thermal circuit and changing the way that the solution cools. So normally with plain water, you would cool through steam conversion. So you're only using the outside surface of the droplet to convert the steam to cool, and it's very ineffective. So with an encapsulating agent, that those encapsulating agent molecules on the outside of the water droplet actually absorb the heat, and they transfer that heat to the spherical micelles within each water droplet. So you vastly increase the amount of solution that's actually being used to cool, as opposed to just the surface of that water droplet. You're now using the entire mass of that EA droplet. And again, because that skin is on the surface of the water droplet, it's one of the reasons the agent is so effective on a Class D metal. Class D metals are those water reactive metals that explode when H2O is introduced to it, because it burns so hot that it'll actually split those hydrogen and oxygen molecules into separate flammable gas molecules. Because the F500 is now on the surface, those water molecules aren't interacting with the Class D metal. Next is the rapid smoke and soot reduction that you get with an encapsulating agent. Because the F500 molecule is so much larger than a water molecule, that molecule is able to absorb that free radical energy created during combustion, which then results in a drastic improvement in both air quality and visibility, along with a really great reduction in the amount of cancer-causing toxins within the smoke. So not only can we improve the visibility and the smoke within the area, but we can also reduce those toxins that are in the smoke. So if we look at that in general, why you would want to choose an encapsulating agent as your suppressant agent. So again, that rapid cooling means that fires are extinguished faster and more efficiently. The encapsulation of the fuels, both vapors, polar and non-polar hydrocarbons, or even the electrolyte within lithium-ion batteries, which is a flammable liquid, can be encapsulated. The visibility and toxin reductions, improvement in visibility and the reduction of that toxic smoke then makes it a safer work environment for your employees. If they would happen to be trapped in an area where there's a fire, it's still going to be less toxic than if that fire was being attempted to be extinguished with any other agent. And again, the agent can be used across multiple classes of fires. So it takes the guesswork out of what needs to be used for what particular fire you have. The agent can be used across multiple classes of fires. So kind of a real quick background on encapsulator technology and why it seems to be, why it is the agent of choice and why this partnership works so well with Fire-Rover. Ryan, I'll let you take it over from there to explain the whole Fire-Rover process and how it together it makes one heck of a fire suppression capability.
Sure. No, and I appreciate it, Ron. Let me, I'm going to share my screen real quick if that's okay. Let me get you to, all right. Can you guys see my screen? And now I'm going to put this up here. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
But you see yourselves. All right, cool.
Yes.
So let's kind of walk through, let's walk through what Fire-Rover is and what we do and kind of the definition of how we handle fire protection differently. Let me also say that I would, if you have questions, I'm going to actually keep up the chat. So if you do have questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer any of these and we can keep this interactive. But basically the Fire-Rover was built, we started in 2015 and we started by protecting scrap metal facilities. And so that was really the big thing where we were actually a security company. And we've been doing that for about 20 years. And then Pete and Jeremy and Brad kind of came up with, after a big fire at a scrap metal facility, one of the owners Brad had asked one of the owners what they could do. And he's like, put the fire out next time. So we were seeing a ton of these, and it's actually funny. I was on a call a week ago, and one of the guys that we caught like 3 or 4 fires in our old days just with our thermal cameras before the Fire-Rover was developed was actually like saying how amazing it was back then. So, again, fast forward 6 years and, we've definitely taken our solution to another level. We cut our teeth on waste and recycling. If you guys are familiar with waste and recycling, there's a ton of hazards. 50% of those hazards are lithium-ion batteries. 50% of them are traditional hazards. And again, when I'm talking about waste and recycling, I'm talking about hazard materials, waste, transfer stations, scrap metal facilities, organics. We cover, we cover some organics facilities, some construction and demolition facilities. But as we've proven the model and evolved over time, we have gotten into some more industrial and some kind of really cool things. We're also, we have a power plant that we're working on. I know Ron was part of, which is a large waste to energy facility. We have a ton coming up. So, if you look at it, our goal is different than most fire protection, right? Our goal is typically to, you have your prevention, which is, your job is to be a good operator, and it's our customer's job to ensure that they have the fewest amount of fires. But we all understand in certain occupancies, there are fires that are inherent in the business. And I think that was the hardest thing for waste and recycling organizations to understand, was that that these fires can't just stop from an education perspective. So prevention is a huge piece of this. And again, when I work with our insurers, they used to do more of a check the box, but now they're really digging into what your disaster plan is, what your fire planning is, and are you bringing your fire department and your professionals on scene? Do you have materials for them, and do you have equipment for them to help fight the fire? And how serious do you take that? And that leads into the professional response. So whether you have a fire brigade, an internal response, or professional response, that's one thing that the idea is to get these guys and notify them as quickly as possible. What we focus on are those initial 10 minutes of a fire. And the goal is to set the tripwire as early in the process as possible. So not only are we going to look at a fire and try to see if there's a thermal event that's happening before there's a flame, whether there's smoke, whether, typically we look at around 220 in a typical location. So the goal is to try to catch them before there's a flame. Of course, once there is a flame, then our goal is to do everything we can to get the full power of our tank and our encapsulator agent combination. So our goal is to get 6 to 8 minutes of of that combination onto a fire as quickly as possible. When we're dealing with lithium-ion batteries, the faster we get to it, the faster we get to thermal runaway. When we're dealing with an auto shredder residue pile, we're trying to cool off a hot spot before there's a flame. We do a ton of equipment, so the non-corrosive aspects of the encapsulator agent, as well as part of our combination, is important. and all the different pieces that kind of go with that. So again, what we've done and what we've transformed is really how fast you detect a fire and how fast you respond to it, and what are you doing to ensure that that works.
Ryan,
yes.
sorry. Can you put the presentation, because he's in the mode of.
Yeah, how about we do this? So I like to keep it up just because I'm kind of going in and out. Can you guys see that better?
Okay, no, it's okay. Thank you.
And I'll close this up a little bit more, so you guys should get a full view. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, what you're seeing in this picture, this is our Rover Box. It's a 20 by 8 by 8 container. It just uses internet and electricity. And again, what we're doing is we are, if it's an outdoor operation, we typically have a 22-foot mast. And then, we have 2 cameras and a nozzle that go off. We typically do about 300 feet by 150 feet. So we come in to do a protected area. If it's an indoor operation, this is one that you'll see. This is a facility in Southern California. We do a custom piping inside the wall, and what you'll end up seeing in the ceiling, our goal is to get, the best view from that ceiling. So really in the ceiling, you're only going to see like 4 or 5 different cameras all in one spot and a nozzle. And that's pretty much our traditional. So we're using top grade thermal cameras in combination with, with our early detection. And then we have our agents are actually remotely located. And so what's nice is we get a false alarm, our agents look at it, they verify it, they clear it. If we get a high temp, we look at it, we see it, we verify, and then we actually can fight the fire along with calling the fire professionals and doing the other pieces of it. So I'll walk you through. It's a lot easier to show you than it is to really understand it from a from talking through it. This is the box, but if you look at our solutions, we have 4 different solutions. One is our thermal only, so where we're doing just thermal only detection, and then there's either an on-site response or there's a professional response. Our Fire Rover solution, which is the military grade thermal protection, that's really our box solution. We can extinguish for about 6 to 10 minutes with that. A lot of times we'll already have a sprinkler system and it's considered additional fire protection equipment. And sometimes it's added into sites that, it is the only type of suppressant. And then that water source is a limited water source. We've developed something called the Fire Rover sprinkler replacement. We've done a number of these for lithium-ion battery specific operations, and for some of our material MRFs, our material recycling facilities. And basically those, we've created a quick connect on the back of the boxes. So, most firefighters have been taught that if there's a lithium-ion battery inside, a lithium-ion battery fire inside a building, that they're supposed to take a defensive approach. So what we do is we'll start to spray it, and then once we run out at 6 to 8 minutes, the fire department's on scene. They can do a quick connect to the back of our box, and we can continue to spray for up to the 42 minutes that we need to. And that's, a couple other things like 4G backups, and I'll show you our CAP systems have been added to, to get it to a full sprinkler replacement, and, to get a full variance on those. And then our final one is the Fire Rover Deluge system, and I'll walk through this one as well. But this is where it's a boxless solution where we utilize the existing infrastructure, or we have to add in, the fire pumps and the other pieces. Typically, we come in at the end and we'll put cameras, nozzles. We can also put dual control, and there's a lot of different things that we're working with. So, that's exciting. We actually did our first last year, and we have a number of those coming. So what I'll say, this is the control burn. So this is our typical standard. This is actually in Detroit. So if any of you guys are ever in Detroit, feel free to stop by. This is what our agents see. So our agents will have, this is the FLIR camera, which is, this is our thermo top grade military camera. We have two HD cameras for every camera that we have from a thermal camera. So we have a gun scope, which is typically sitting right next to the camera. And then we also have another cam, I call it the anchor cam, that we use for our depth perception, right? Because, it's definitely it's definitely a skill, and we do a ton of practicing with our agents. They're using a joystick and they're aiming towards these spots. And so what you're going to see here is this is actually, this is our backyard. We play a little bit back here, but what you're seeing here, this is our outdoor unit, but this is actually plumbed in like an indoor unit. So it's an up and in. This would actually be, if you think through in your, you know, in your building, this would be sitting in the, you know, right in your roof line or close to it. And then you'll see that we'll spray. And then again, there's actually another where we're able to, you'll see, you know, we spray a little bit further. So it shows really the distance. So, I mean, you know, we could pretty much cover, you know, 150 feet by 150 feet, or like 300 feet by 150. And we can also do a 360 with 2 nozzles. I mean, we get pretty creative with these. We have over 182 sites that we're protecting currently. You know, we've had less than 10 that we've needed the fire department to arrive on scene. We've had 2 catastrophic. So when I talk to insurance companies, you know, that's really the thing that we're looking at, where we can actually mitigate the risk of a lot of these occupancies from, you know, to pre-lithium ion days or pre-hazard days, especially on the waste and recycling side of it. So this is actually a tip floor. What you're going to see here is we can see through smoke. We can see in darkness. We just have to use a combination of those cameras. And again, there was a fire here that started in the metering drum. A couple embers got onto the floor. And, you know, one of the things that we see that, you know, it's kind of a nice thing that, you know, we're able to share a lot of these videos. Our customers are very open to it, and we're on the front lines of these. So, you know, unlike other fire protection equipment that is only tested in laboratories, you know, ours is tested in real life all the time, right? I mean, we just had like 2 in the last 2 days that I know of. And, you know, I get pings as we're doing it. And listen, Pete will always tell me, and I'll laugh, right? Because, you know, they have the hard job. They have to actually put the fires out, right? Mine's pretty easy, just sharing what we do. But again, you'll see this is a human being who's putting the fires out. And then the beauty of our system as well is that there's built-in Firewatch. So, you know, right there, we probably use 10% of our tank. And again, you know, we only come out and refill it at 90%, or at 70%. But really, it's a you know, it's a full we-maintained, well-oiled machine. So, you know, our customers don't do anything except, you know, when we do shoot, we have an audio alarm and we have a visual alarm that'll go off, strobe lights. But really, besides that, it's our job to fight the fire. And, you know, we do work in partnership at some points, and I'll show you kind of where that works. But we own the equipment, we own the maintenance, we do on-site, we do, you know, it's the full, you know, it's the full kit and caboodle. And then we also own full warranty for our customers. So unlike other systems, our equipment will get better over time, because we're going to continue to upgrade it and make sure that it works. In our contracts, I mean, of course, we're not an insurance company, so we ensure that our equipment works when it's needed, or we're penalized. So, you know, we guarantee our equipment works. We just obviously can't guarantee that we can put out every single fire incident. This is, you know, when I show like how tight we can shoot. I mean, think through that. This is a hazard material operation that we have. It's an indoor or outdoor facility. So, you know, you look, this is the 5th pallet, and it was a chemical that was mislabeled that had a reaction. So we're going to look at this. We're going to see it. Our agent verifies that there's an issue. They call the guys who are on site. They'll call the fire brigade in this case, but they'll call the fire department as well. You're going to see like there's you know, one of their employees that's in a bunny suit will walk through, but, you know, we're actually hitting the 5th pallet. So if you think through what an existing solution or what a different solution is, and again, you'll see, like, I'll show you guys with the thermo, we're literally hitting that 5th pallet. And again, this is aimed by one of our agents. And then we know that there's not there's not a thermal reaction going on, so we can actually remove the hazard and bring it to a place where they can handle taking care of it in a safe way. So, you know, this is one that you'll see. We spray it for 10 seconds. Again, it's a combination of our encapsulator agent and you know, and F500 and water. 3% is typically what we shoot at. I mean, sometimes with metal, we'll go a little bit higher. But then again, you know, you're going to have an employee who's safely putting it away, and we're still watching this to make sure that it doesn't reignite, or the heat doesn't come back, right? If it did, we'd let them know, we'd stop, and we'd spray again. So it's not like our system's not like a deluge system that once it goes, it needs to be cleaned up and reset. Most of our operations, I mean, this will evaporate, and there is no cleanup, and our guys are back to work as quickly as we put the fire out. So just to give a little bit of, like, from a preemptive maintenance perspective, these are the things that we can do for equipment. A lot of times we're like, for this is a metering drum, we're watching this. If there's ever a heat abnormality, it's kind of like driving a car. If you stop it right when you're at the end of having no oil, it's still going to be fine. You put oil in. If you let it drive without oil, you're going to have to get yourself a new engine block. So really what we do here is a couple things. One, we look at it. If we see an issue, we let them know. They'll shut down the system, and then they'll actually remove whatever's in there that's causing the heat. And then we also have another camera that's strategically placed. If there's a fire, it will literally shut down all of their, it'll shut down their conveyors. So we have the fire segregated to one area. Again, we're looking at it, we're verifying it. One of the things you're going to see here, this is actually 2 fire extinguishers. There are 2 guys that are actually inside a dozer. So 2 of the employees shouldn't have been doing this. So, we do have, conversations after each event, and we definitely have learnings after each event, specific to some sites. Like, there's actually, you don't see it, but there's 2 guys that are in this loader that got in, and really what they did was make it harder for us. Now we have a bigger fire to put out. Had they not been there, our agent would have shot, probably like 30 seconds or half a minute sooner. So now we're going to put it out, and you'll see, this will go out within 30 seconds over time. And we'll have it out. So, there is an agent looking at what we do. This is actually an organics facility. So I have this on YouTube because it's a huge, let me open this thing up. All right, well, I guess we're going to watch it from here, but I'll make it bigger. So what you're going to see here is, this was a facility in California, and it was these are wood shavings. So it was oak wood, and then there was an accelerant. And again, we don't know what the accelerant was, just because it had burned off. And again, what you're seeing is that you're seeing a loader that's going in and basically doing what like loaders have been, or what these operators have been doing for years, right? They're basically have been putting their own fires out, and typically they're going to scoop them up and bring them out, and then they're going to hit them a couple times or bring extinguishers. But 8 out of 10 times that might work, but that doesn't mean that that's the right way to handle it. What you're supposed to do with a deep-seated fire is pre-wet it and then start layering it away and look towards the fire. As you can see in this situation, number one, it's helpful to know that there was no damage here. They were working the next day, right? So there was no damage at all. Okay. So what you're going to see here, which looks like, it just looks like a mess, right? But what we're doing is, you see that fire extinguisher, not sure why he's there, not sure what he's doing, but you can see the difference between the power of what we're putting out and what they're doing. Again, we call the fire department. This is one of those ones where we needed the fire department on scene to do a finish of, to finish the job. But what you'll see, and again, I've double timed this video, what you're going to see right here at that 680, once that starts going down below at any time, we know we're making progress, right? And so most people are going to look at this and, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is a mess. Really what we're doing is we're actually hitting the hottest spot. So we're continuously moving around, hitting towards the hottest spot. And then at some point you see that as it goes below 680, we're starting to make progress, and we can see that, and we're trained to do this. And again, you just see that it goes to 540. Now there's still danger, of course, right? And we still need the fire department to come on scene. This is still a major incident, but at the end of the day, we're going to get it under control as fast as anything would get it under control. And then the fire department will get to a scene that they're willing to fight. Typically it takes a fire department, 5 to 7 minutes to roll out their hoses, get everything set up. So, I do recommend to a lot of our clients that you have a hose there for them that's locked up. So then you can at least roll it out and have it ready for your fire department when they get there. And, I'm sure Ron and a lot of you guys can speak to this better than I can, but really the idea is, you want to do everything you can to try to get the fire department to come in and safely fight your fire. Our Fire Rover system allows that when fires like this are happening. And again, you're going to see, we're at probably minute 8. And then at some point you'll see us turn off. So this is still our spray coming in. And then at some point you'll see us turn off probably. So this is probably at 8 minutes and we are still spraying. Let's see, right around here. And then you're seeing the fire departments now coming in and finishing it off. They're coming from the left side. And this will be under control by the time it's done. And again, we have built-in Firewatch. We'll be out the next day, to fill it up. But the fire department got there and was able to really do different, was really to make make a big difference in this case. So this is one where, a lot of times it's an explosion. Mobile shredders, we get these all the time. Big fire, big hit. I mean, they have, a lot of our customers actually have fire hoses on site, but you'll see the difference between their hose and our hose. Right. So, I mean, we have it out in seconds and, most of the time we shoot for 20 seconds, right? We'll get it out as fast as we can. And, but yeah, obviously from a partnership perspective, we're pretty happy to have both. But again, this was a major C&D facility in Maine. And again, we do a ton of lithium ion batteries. So, I'm sure, most people on this call are believers in, in F500 and what it can do when you get it onto a battery fast enough and soak it. And really, that's really what we're doing. So a lot of our struggles in the middle of the night, we'll spray it, it's done, and within seconds. And, we'll send this video to our customers and say, hey, we took care of it. And they're, we don't call the fire department because really at the end of the day, we're there ready if something else did happen. So that all depends. I do have a number of other types of fires. So this is a rubber feedstock fire. We had a 3,000 degree rubber fire out in 4.5 minutes before the fire department arrived on scene. And again, when I tell people this, I mean, if I didn't have video, I mean, no one would believe us. But what you're going to see here is that, not only are we going to spray spray the pile, but we're also going to spray the collateral assets. So, what might look like a mess, again, we're spraying, our combination of F500 and water onto the collateral asset as well. And they're doing a little bit of both. So, I know it looks messy, but this is all calculated. And the goal is so that, the building A doesn't have any issues, right? And, and then we can also, we'll go fight the fire. But this one literally, I mean, this is a real-time incident and we're going to have this thing out. I mean, the beauty is, just like we don't use foam, right? Because the idea is, we need the ability to get the droplets on. And again, even though we're shooting hardcore, that's to get the distance. But really the idea is to get these droplets on so that they don't, or so that they can cool it as fast as possible. And so you'll also see here, I think it's a big thing. You'll see there's one of their employees is standing there with 361 chemicals or whatever the number is, which they shouldn't be doing, and they're spraying with a little sprinkler head. You see that? It's great. So,
hey Ryan, just an important part to throw into there with the F500 too, as you were mentioning, hitting that collateral stock that's there. It's one of the another one of the advantages of F500 is when it's on unburnt material, it acts like a fire retardant. So not only is it extinguishing, it's helping to control the spread of that fire as well. So that actually, though, as Ryan was saying, it may look like you're making a bit of a mess. That's actually the tactic you want to make is, attack the fire, but at the same time, wet the surrounding area because it's going to inhibit the spread of that fire.
Absolutely. And we're always, I mean, and this is one of the things, right? Our goal is to pre-wet as fast as possible and then try to get our material around the collateral pieces so we can stop it from burning and to get the fuel away from the fire. And then, then it makes sense for our customers to come in and take a loader and start to peel away, especially when we start to deal with these deep-seated fires. This is a hazard material, one of our hazard material customers. They have a pit, it's like catalytic. So this is a little different, right? This is, when they're shut down, we're not going to have a fire, but, when they're working, if their fires get out of the specific, the specific temperature gauge, we start to spray. And we have a number of these, but as you can see, like this is how dirty it is, right? You can't see inside. I mean, you think about combustible dust and all those different, all those different hazards. I mean, this is what we're dealing with on a daily basis. And again, we keep the cameras up, we clean the lenses, we come out, we do maintenance. I mean, our guys are pretty amazing from I don't want to say we're cautiously afraid of everything, but we're not going to turn our heads from any hazard. And we haven't, and we've been, knock on wood, been pretty successful with them over the years. So this is where there's a lot of insurers who have come to us specifically with hazards saying, hey, we need help. And I know there's a couple of you guys on the call that have been part of those. So it's definitely something that if there's another occupancy or an installation, we're happy to take a shot at trying to understand the hazards and what we can do from our facility or from our our perspective. But like this, you can see it from a thermal, which is a lot better because you don't see the dust. But again, you're going to see us spraying right into the pit. And again, I have a ton of other videos, scrap metal, others. I mean, I think what I'd like to show you guys is
Ryan, we have some questions. If we can answer the question, and then you can show us more videos, or you want to finish and then answer.
Yeah, let me just show one more. So this is what I was telling you guys about. Like this is the waste to energy facility. And again, this is like, we're utilizing the existing infrastructure. We've created the full sprinkler system with our, with 8 cameras and 5 nozzles. And again, like, it's 5 fire trucks basically on wheels, right? We have unlimited capacity, which is nice. And then you'll see we actually are handling like, this is 70-foot pits. And we've had this up for 4 months and we already put out a huge lithium fire in this specific operation. But again, I mean, it's, and this one also actually has a dual control. So we set this up for our customer so that they actually can own the control if they want to. And then the last thing I'll show you guys, this is one of our sprinkler replacements. So this was, the way we got it was we gave them a few cap systems. We had 4G, and then we're covering them with 2 boxes. But from a sprinkler cost perspective, our cost is much more competitive. Again, we do have a monthly service fee that is maintenance, monitoring, and warranty that allows us to, keep the system up and running and to keep it getting better. But the thing I wanted to show you is right here, right there. So what you're seeing here, that's our quick connect. So we actually have that on our, this is the lithium ion battery operation that we do for one of the large automotive OEMs. But, we developed it for this because, again, if you go inside here, there's literally pallets upon pallets upon pallets of lithium ion batteries specifically. And again, so what's nice is that you can, once we hit that, the mark where we've used up all the encapsulator and, all of what's inside that are the water, we can actually, we set these up specific to the jurisdiction. So, they come in, they can hook up to whichever one they need, and then, we'll continue to spray and fight the fire for them from a safe distance. So, I mean, Hernan, that's what I have. So if you have questions, I would love to answer them.
Okay, Ryan, we have some question. We start with the Pascal Caron, that he made the first question, that does it require protection heating from cold climate, and it's also totally independent for its electricity requirements?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at the box, it's heated, it's cooled. So I mean, we're as north as Calgary. So we're in Canada, United States currently. We're expanding to UK and to Australia. That's our next 2 sites from a plant perspective. But the boxes are completely insulated, and then they have a heater. They're cooled. I mean, we have a heartbeat with the system, and we know what's going on with basically every component inside. We're nitrogen powered, so really our power requirements are like a 120 volt. It's a very, very small voltage. Really it's for the fire panel and for the computers. or sorry, yeah, for it to run like the monitor and the computer that's in it. So, that's really, it's light. I mean, internet access, we like to have hard line internet, and we like to have our own line. There's obviously ways around it depending on what type of site and where we are, and if you're urban or rural or all the different pieces. But, our goal is to have we need the bandwidth when we're fighting a fire, right? So, it's great that a lot of times people want us to share. We have a hard time doing that because, again, you never know when a fire is going to happen, and when it does, we need the bandwidth all at one time from a video perspective, and to ensure that there's no delay.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And we have other question that what is the philosophy behind the 12 minutes discharge?
So the philosophy, I mean, originally the idea is this: most of the fires that we fight are 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, right? Our goal is to catch them early in the process. So we actually developed a 1,000-gallon tank, which is, I mean, a 1,000-gallon tank. I mean, you saw the fire that we put out. I mean, I have a number of different ones, but like even the rubber fire that we put out, we still had 40% left of our tank. So it's typically more than enough. And again, I mean, if you're familiar with F500, you're using it typically about 1/5 the amount of water. And then the idea is, number one, we have that, and we're getting it so early in the process. Our goal is one of the things, and I didn't share this, but like the idea is this, is that we know there's fires. Our goal is not to have a major fire incident. So if you look at like waste and recycling specifically, there's a WISH standard in Europe that they've developed, that they have said like a positive outcome of a fire at a waste and recycling facility. It's considered a positive outcome defined as 4 hours the fire is under control, and so that 4-hour window is what they have to get a fire under control, and they consider that successful. Our goal is never to have a major fire incident. We want to catch it within, incipient smoldering flame, worst case fire stage, like a full fire stage. But again, and our goal is to create and fight in the pre-incipient stage. So that amount of power and water and, and encapsulator together has proven to work on every one we've done. And again, the goal for that 8 to 10 minutes is, it typically takes a fire department, 4 to 8 minutes to get on site, right? Depending on who they are, 12 minutes to start fighting it. So, with that being said, it's our goal to have or have most things under control as much as we can do during the time that we can handle it. So, with the new system that we put in, it's unlimited. And then again, the quick connect is basically exactly that, right? The fire department comes on scene and connects. So really that's really the idea of that amount of power. I mean, in theory, we could make it 2,000 gallons. In theory, we could make it 5,000 gallons, but what we've seen is that, this 1,000 is more than enough for most applications that we've seen.
All right, that this answer have a connection with other question of Pascal that said, does it, I know the answer, but does it have a fire department connection so the fire department can supply water to the system if more water is required?
Well, yes, and that's the quick connect. That's how we've gotten the sprinkler replacement. So like in the variances, what you're going to see is Fire Rover in lieu or in replace of sprinkler system. And, again, I love sprinkler systems. Like, I don't want to talk anything bad about a sprinkler system, but, when you look at sprinkler systems were developed and they work real well in smaller or like high-rise buildings or apartment buildings or areas that they're smaller. And then you can also do them on the front end, right? If you look at the cost from our system to a sprinkler system is, we're literally half to a third less. And we can cover the same amount of area. Now, granted, a fire sprinkler system is not 100% coverage, right? Because you're based on surface area and the 3D of the fire. So, even our full solution is going to have some gaps. But, depending on what it is, I think we have 80 or 90 facilities where we are the only fire protection solution inside these fires or inside these locations. And again, what we work best on, we're working on line of sight. So really, if you think about, these big box industrial or manufacturing, you have 40-foot ceilings, you have open dock doors, there's a lot of visibility. That's where our solution is just far superior. Versus, when you have a smaller, low ceiling combined space with a lot of walls, our system doesn't make as much sense.
Okay.
Does it?
Thank you, Ryan. And
Can I throw something in here? This is Mike Reiner. Want to make sure everyone understands that these are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year from the control center. So we're catching these fires very early in the incipient stage. And I know UL just did a study, and they were showing that in 1960s they were showing that in a living room area it would take over 30 minutes to get the flash over. But now in that same scenario, with all the modern materials that we have, which are ending up in these waste sites and recycling, it only took 4 minutes to get to that flash over. So one of the real benefits of this is we're catching these, as Ryan said, in the incipient and the smoldering initial flame, and we're directing an attack on it there. Each facility has its own built-in protocols that we work with that facility. So facility A may say, immediately notify the local fire department and call Joe Blow, who is the HSE one, and facility B may say, call the fire department and notify our insurance companies. And these are handled at the control center. So as you can see, you're catching these fires so early, they don't get out of hand. And if you apply what UL's teaching us, geez, if it takes 8 minutes for the fire department to get there, then we have a pretty nasty fire started, which nasty fire means nasty losses, potential loss of property and potentially even life. So I want to.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I haven't brought up NFPA. I mean, I don't know if you guys, we have a fire solutions group. So Andy Lynch has been really working with us for the past 5 years on getting our language and our system as an alternative solution inside NFPA, and we've had some luck. I'm personally on the hazard material code, but the construction demolition, I believe that our language has been submitted and approved to be submitted. It just needs, and then there's the 409 that we're working on, which is the hangar protection, where again, this is I don't know why it's covering the file, but I'll show you our solution, versus, I call it a targeted deluge system, but it's really the difference between putting in basically 100,000 gallons to fill a hangar versus us coming in and being able within seconds to spray it, but also to look at it and understand whether it's actually a real fire or if it's false alarm. So you're not getting the false deluges. So we actually, under FM, they've set up a new classification for us, which is as a smart monitor. And again, it's kind of ironic, right, that the smart monitor actually brings a human back in, where there's areas in the code that are written that, to have automated, you can't have a human, right? So, I think one of the things that everybody pulled back in years, they want something completely 100% that's automated. But the problem is, with that comes a whole host of other issues that really stop it from being as successful as possible. Our patents around bringing back that person, right, and making sure that, yes, they're highly trained, and our agents are highly trained, but again, it's one of those things where you have that person looking at it, verifying it, and they're not in the throes of the moment, right? They're not in there smelling smoke and having the danger on them. And again, we always joke that, if my system explodes or something happens, it's a robot, right? No one's getting hurt, right? So really, at the end of the day, the goal is, it's a very safe way to do it. And most of the time, most employees shouldn't be fighting fires. They should be evacuating. And that's what we train them and we teach them and we tell them. But in reality, they become the front lines, and obviously that could lead to some bad outcomes.
Ryan, I have some other question, but I want to follow the order. One of the question is what is the volume of spray coming out of the hose?
So it's 150 psi when it comes out of the tank. I mean, it's about 60 coming out of the hose, I think, at the end. Pete, do you have answers to that one? Is Pete on still? I mean, you know, we've done
Ryan. Hernan, we're running about 180 GPM now on the nozzle.
GPM. Yeah.
Pressure wise, the system is typically pressurized anywhere between 150 to 170 psi at the tank. Obviously, you're going to realize a little loss in that through the pipe and turns and whatnot.
Hello, Peter, to introduce to all the people about Peter. Peter is our engineer in Fire Rover. And Peter, I have more questions for you and Ryan, but the other question says factory mutual approved. It's the Fire Rover approved by FM Global.
So, yeah, and let me like go down that path. We have been working with FM for 5 years. I mean, trying to get approved. The issue originally was that first of all, they don't have a test for us, right? Originally, they wanted the FLIR optical grade tested, or I'm not going to say it correctly, but I mean that was like $1.5 million test that there was no way we were going to do it. FLIR's made the decision as an organization not to get FM or UL approval. You know, so again, I don't know if that's changed to this point. I don't believe so. They have finally, up about three to 6 months ago, we're at the final stages where they've created the classification and they are getting us what the test will be. So of course we will do everything we can to be FM approved when they are, you know, when they're able to allow us to get approved. So I mean, just like anything else, I mean, the fact that we're in NFPA and being written in one of the codes is, I mean, in the old days, right? I mean, this would take 20 years, and we were warned by everybody how long it does take. So, you know, this is just one of those things where we're, you know, technology is running a little bit faster than the, you know, a little bit faster than, you know, the codes and the standards. But at the same time, I think, you know, we are getting a very positive reception from fire engineers and from insurance companies. And, you know, again, 6 years later, we've proven that our system works. And, you know, so in the last year, 2 years, we're really kind of getting the numbers up and the scale up, which is helping. And again, we're ready to do FM the minute that they are ready to do it first, right? But, you know, it's not, we've been literally pressuring them from the very beginning, and, you know, it's not out of disrespect. I mean, we love it. We want to do it. So, and we've had the investment there. So that will be done as soon as we're allowed to get that done. Pete, you can add in if you'd like, or Mike, if you want to add in, but I mean, that's our stance on it.
Mike's probably better suited for that, but yeah, we're in the process. Mike has worked for several years with FM. They're developing the testing now. Mike, do you want to add to that?
Well,
We are
yeah,
in the
can
final
say with the
stages of the
F500
materials being
encapsulator agent,
put together for
when
FM.
you go to say
We
someone
expect to
like
have back from them the test parameters, as well as the pricing and a game plan for taking our system, testing it, and ultimately it is our intent to have our system FM approved for our customers.
And other question, Mike, that's about Pascal, as the question is there work in progress to establish an NFPA standard on such system?
We are working, as Ryan had mentioned earlier, Hernan, we are working with the various technical committees for language to be put into the NFPA codes and standards. That process is ongoing. We have approval on 3 codes currently. And as these technical committees come up with the codes for review and public hearing, we continue to submit our language to be part of the NFPA standards for the new additions coming out in the future.
Okay, thank you,
You bet.
Mike.
Thank you.
The question for all of you is, does those equipment are limited to the USA, or you also have entry in Canada?
So we are in Canada now currently. So the US and Canada is where those are, we're live and up and running, right? We're working on the UK and Australia, but again, those will probably be later this year or next year. And the pandemic didn't help much, right? That stalled a little bit of what we were doing. And honestly, we do have in Canada, we're fortunate that we have partners there that can do the work. So it's not, that really didn't hurt us as much. But yeah, as far as our exporting to other countries, and we literally couldn't even have trainings or anything. So it was just, we had to put it on hold for a little bit of time.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. And I reading the other question, but I see that you answer about FM Global. Let us know, Pascal, if you have the answer for all the question about FM Global. But I need help with something because it's a what about seismic bracing? I don't know what it means.
That's asking about utilizing the system in a seismic zone. And I know California is a seismic zone, and there's fire rover systems in place providing fire protection in California. So I would suppose we'd say yes, you can put fire rover in a seismic area. We just have to, follow any structural design codes.
Well, yeah, and I think, we always need a concrete pad because, again, we are custom plumbing these internal, right? Not as important in an outdoor operation as an indoor. But with that being said, we have a backup, and our customers have to decide what they need from a backup perspective. So, if our customer wants to have a generator, then they'll have a generator and they'll hook us up to it. If the customer wants to have backup internet, they can have that. And then we also offer a backup option. If the customer wants, if they want a flood zone, right, in Texas, they can build the flood wall around it. So a lot of that stuff comes down to, or they can put it on a mezzanine, which a lot of our, these weigh about 2,000 pounds. So, a lot of our sites have these on mezzanines or, under equipment or others. And I have some pictures here if you guys want to see them. But again, so really, we have these conversations with our customers constantly, right? So, whatever hazards you're dealing with, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, whether, you have a lack of power, we always figure out how to get internet access. We've never had a site that is in such a rural area that we can't figure out some way to make it work. That satisfies us and them as well. Cause of course, we have to have certain levels to feel comfortable that we can meet the expectations that our customers have on us. So, really a lot of that stuff is really all about talking and discussing before we do the initial installation.
Okay, I have another question, but it's 3 questions in one. This is Pascal talk about like a backup. Can the fire department use the nozzles of the system to supply water by hook up to the fire department if there is one to fight fire during the time it takes for the setup? This is the first question.
Yeah, so they can, as long as they have the Fire Rover Quick Connect, and that's one of those examples that most of our boxes do not come with this because there might be a sprinkler system there and we're only used for initial extinguishment, right? So this right here, that's it, right? This is actually one, and we're getting more and more of these, but we probably have 15 of these out, 15 boxes that actually have the Quick Connect because it was we created this last year. And we started putting it into a lot of we created it in 2019 and we installed it in 20. So, yes, the fire department can come, they can connect, but again, the pressure is going to come from, the pumper truck. So, it's like, you're still going to have to connect to water, and yes, you could do that and we would continue to do it. It's a little bit addition to the cost. But yeah, typically that's definitely something we can do, and it's inexpensive in the overall value from my perspective. But of course, I see it from a
Yes,
attained view.
yes, like you talk, maybe you can give us, this is the next question. This is, what is the average price for the installation of the rubber tire storage? Let's say, as an example, but we can add the connection for fire department.
Yeah, so I mean, typically, I mean, you're looking at about 111 grand. That gives you 300 feet by 150 feet. That includes installation, typically. And again, you can add cameras and nozzles. You can take one away, and then there's a monthly charge. So typically, it's about 24 grand a year. And again, when I say 24 grand, a lot of people see that number and they get nervous. But really, they have to, like, you're buying a full solution from us. So the idea is that this is maintenance, monitoring, and warranty. So the monitoring is one piece that, this is active monitoring. This isn't, we might be looking at one camera, 30, 40, 50 times a day because of how active the locations are. This isn't just a warehouse that doesn't move, and it is only active for, 3-4 hours a day. Second is the maintenance, right? So the maintenance is both on site and remote. So, we're looking into our boxes every day from a maintenance perspective. And we also have a heartbeat with the system from a technology perspective. So if for some reason we're not getting that ping to a certain piece, we know that someone needs to go out and look at it. And we have maintenance across 50 states in Canada. And then the other thing is that, we're going to come on site and fix anything that would ever need to be fixed, or we're going to make sure that the camera lenses, we're looking into them every day. So, we got to make sure that we can see and we have everything that, is in order. And if not, we send someone out. The final thing is the warranty, right? And so most equipment that you buy gets older. It's almost like a car. You drive it off the lot. With our system, again, of course it ages, but we're constantly upgrading the software of the system. When we do an upgrade, we upgrade all the boxes with it over, a certain phase and approach. So like, your system should get smarter over time. And most companies can't say that. So, and so that includes everything. And there's never, like, we don't nickel and dime our customers. So, the 24 grand would be the cost of, 1/3 of an employee or 1/2 of a full-time employee. And, so that's typically the difference between our system. So again, it's a lot less expensive than the alternative of a sprinkler system. And it's easier to put in, especially when you already have a site built, but there is a monthly maintenance monitoring, full bumper to bumper warranty on it. That, does, it
Yes,
definitely is a cost.
And you have a person 24 hours to operate the nozzles.
I mean, we have more than enough butts and seats, right? And like, so, we don't have one guy who goes to the bathroom or has a smoke break and he was the one washing it. I mean, we
Yes,
literally, I mean, in theory, like we have, if like over half of our facilities had an incident at the exact same time and there was some sort of a massive explosion, we would still have enough butts and seats, right? There's a certain point where that doesn't happen, but again, like, let's look and assume that the world, I mean, unless a nuclear bomb drops on the US, we're probably not going to have a fire at, more than 5% of our locations at any one time, at worst case.
wow. And I have an interesting answer. So that have any insurance companies offer property insurance coverage credits for policy holders who install these systems?
Absolutely. I mean, but again, I think people have to understand that, this isn't like a discount, right? It's not like, you're a good driver and they give you 5% off, right? I mean, these are prescriptive policies. And like what I'm going to show you here is this was the waste and recycling industry. Like what ended up happening was, you had traditional fires that were causing a ton of issues. Okay. Now, all of a sudden you get, these are actual claims data. So all of a sudden in 18, you had propane tanks and other things that were causing fires. Well, all of a sudden you have all these lithium ion batteries that are now like falling in. And I started talking about it in 15, where it was a wave of lithium ion batteries. These are actual claims of the top 5 insurers in this occupancy. And you see shredders and lithium ion battery claims went up like crazy, right? And that's really what drove all these guys to run. And again, so what ends up happening? You need to have a healthy insurance market for any occupancy, right? I mean, there's a lot of fires that happen in refineries, right? There's a lot of fires that happen in a lot of these places, but they already have best practices set up, and the insurance companies are now comfortable with that risk. So what we've been doing for the past 5 years is working with these insurance companies, and we're bringing them back into the fold. Because again, like, these guys will go out and, I don't know, everyone's seen, but AIG is really pulling out of their high risk. They're not just, going in, checking the box and, grabbing a high risk portfolio. So like, I have a refinery that we're working on, and like, their premiums tripled. So, we have one of our partners is Cotting and Butler, myself, a fire solutions group. And like, it's a combination of the four of us, right, with HCT, that are saying, with our solution, here's what we think we can do. And we're going to mitigate that risk for you to, pre-levels of lithium ion batteries in this occupancy, or whatever that risk was before. So that allows them to feel that, they have enough data that their actuarials can get a handle on it, and they're willing to give good rates, right? So, I mean, to answer your question, we do have companies, Western National, they do interstate or national interstate. And then, like, I mean, I just got off a call 2 months ago with, Swiss Re, Zurich, and all the reinsurers. And, those guys have been on a number of our calls where we're showing them that if the customer makes the investment in a fire rover, what we think their loss rate's going to be, their catastrophic, their catastrophic events. And that's what's gotten them, the better rates. So again, it's not a 5% off because you have a rover, because again, every rover is different, and every solution's different, and, and every risk is frankly different based on, historically, how good of an operator have you been, right? If you're a crappy operator, I mean, the fire rover is not going to help you get anything, and vice versa. So
the amazing thing, Ryan, that's we are not selling a sprinkler, a product. We are selling a solution for the company. That's
agreed.
24 hours, and you have people, and when like you say, when the fire start, you can prevent a catastrophic event because you are so fast with this equipment.
And I think that's the key point, Ryan, that folks need to take into consideration. And it's been with a couple of my customers when we've talked about sprinkler systems as opposed to the fire rover solution. So because you're monitoring with thermal imaging, if you think about a traditional sprinkler system, even if it's deluged or closed head, if it's looking for that heat at the ceiling to activate that system, and as Ryan said, in most of these facilities, you may have a 30 or 40 foot ceiling. Even if you're trying to get temperatures to 130 to 160 degrees to trip a sensor 40 feet above the fire, what is the volume of fire you have before the system even activates? With this, you can detect that heat buildup and activate the system before you actually have an active flame. It's reactive, it's proactive as opposed to reactive. You have the chance to actually snuff that out before it ever gets going, as opposed to it being a major event before the system even activates.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point, because we're looking at direct heat on the ground or in a site. So what you're looking at right now is it's another hazard material operation. But again, we're not looking for radiant temperature, right? We're looking for direct heat. So, that doesn't mean that, again, you see like 1 pixel of a hot heat and we're just going to, like, it still has to be an event, right? But at the same time, we also have smoke analytics built in on our indoor units. And, at the end of the day, I mean, we have a better chance with us. Now, think about this. Your sprinkler system goes off, and that's typically when the fire department is alarmed to come to your site. And now you have, basically a 10-foot fire to have to get to the 180 degrees to pop the frickin' sprinkler head, right? And, so then the fire department comes and they still have 8 more minutes. So this is where you start to have a real game changer in your events. When we catch it early, we call the fire department early, and then we start fighting it. And again, we've gotten everyone under control that we've ever had, right? I mean, the two catastrophic incidents that we had, one, the fire started behind the unit, which if that happens, there's nothing we can do. And one was, you know, an operator issue, right? They literally had 30-foot like piles on a 35-foot ceiling. And I mean, our operations team sent them email after email after email telling them that they needed to lower their piles because we didn't have the right view, right? So, you know, again, we're going to tell our customers, but like, there's no guarantee. And that's where when insurance companies come to us, you know, yes, you still have to have best practices. We are not a guarantee that you're never going to have a fire event. And we're not here to make up for, you know, anything but, you know, but together with positive training, positive, you know, and operation, and then our system, I mean, I'm pretty well confident, and I would take the bet so that, you know, that we're going to make sure that most fires don't happen. But of course, you know, I mean, any fireman tells you, like, I mean, the minute you think you're covered, you know, that something else happens that you're like, oh man, I didn't see that coming. So we're dealing with the unknown.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ryan. But for this moment, I ask to the participant if we have any other question. Not for this moment. I don't know if you want to add something more, Mike, Ron, or Ryan.
I mean, I'm good. I appreciate your guys' time. And again, I mean, you know, like anything else, it's really understanding the specific risks and the custom and, you know, the solutions that we'll put in. I mean, even though it's just, hey, it's a fire rover, every location, you know, has a different need or requirement. Some sites we have 5 boxes, some sites we have 1 box, some sites we're boxless now. So again, it just really depends on what, you know, what you guys are looking for. And we're happy to engage when you need to. So make sure you engage with your sales folks, and, you know, we're happy to help.
Yeah, this is Mike Reiner. I'd like to say thank you, Ryan, for a great presentation. It's a good partnership between the companies, and you know, this isn't just a drop in place type thing like a fire extinguisher or some cart. It's an engineered design system designed to mitigate your fires in the very early incipient stages. I always talk about our team and say, you know, the only thing faster than the emergency responders coming to a fire are the attorneys. They have faster vehicles in today's age. And I will guarantee you they're not faster than the fire rover. They're catching the fires early, or acting and interacting with the fires early, notifying emergency responders. To me, that's what, you know, helping clients is all about, to minimize loss of property and loss of life, injury, and death. So I want to thank everyone. Ron, thank you. Thanks everyone for attending. I hope we got something out of that. If you have any questions, give us a call and we'll be glad to answer them.